Good afternoon. Welcome to the Kansan Sports YouTube channel for the first ever Kansan Sports Stadium Draft. My name is Ben Hooke. I am a senior at the University of Kansas. I'm a writer on the esteemed sports staff of the University Daily Kansan. Joining with me is three stadium experts. We have from Hayes, Kansas, wherever else you want to put him, Eric Lucio, who is the current sports editor from Dallas as well. We have from Sunny SD, Brandon Wilson, who is a junior now at KU.
Senior.
Senior. My bad,
Yep.
Brandon.
No, you're good.
And from the coolest Ottawa in the world, we have Landon Jones, who is a sophomore and ready to draft some great stadiums. So I'm going to outline the rules real quick. In this draft, we will be picking a lineup of 7 stadiums via a snake draft. These stadiums are going to be they have to be in active use, and they are going to be sort of traditional stadiums only. So there are some stadiums that golf courses, for example, would not necessarily count as stadiums. The order will be in a snake draft, and you must draft one stadium per category position. Those categories are going to be a capacity greater than or equal to 80,000 people, a capacity less than or equal to 17,000 people, a stadium that opened before January 1st, 1975, and a stadium that opened after January 1st, 2010. A stadium that hosted a Super Bowl, and a stadium that's primary use is hosting a sport that is not one of the traditional big 4 of American sports, which are American football, basketball, baseball, and hockey, and then a wild card that can be any stadium that your heart desires. So we will now go to selecting the order of the draft. I have a random wheel here, and yeah, I think we're gonna spin it and see what happens. So picking first will be Brandon Wilson. Second, Landon Jones. Third will be myself, Ben Hooke. And that means the final spot and on the turn will be Eric Lucio. So I will get up our drafting tab, and Brandon, you are on the clock for your first pick.
Awesome. Well, off the bat, I'm going to say this. I think Eric is probably in the best position. I was really hoping to be 4th for that little turnaround. Just off the rip, just because I don't have many that I want in that category. With sports capacity under 17,000, I'm going the mecca of college basketball, and I'm just going to go Allen Fieldhouse.
I thought this was kind of going to be the consensus first pick because I think there are not that many like iconic sub 17,000 seat stadiums, and like this is kind of the one. So this makes a ton of sense. I totally get it.
That's why I had mentioned I thought Eric was in that dream spot, because I thought we were going in the order and he was going to take that first pick in that category.
No. So you can take
changes it up
any category.
That's a great first pick.
That I think that was my first pick on the board. I think that's
I mean,
really,
how could it not be? It's where the game was invented.
I also think Allen Fieldhouse is like or that category as a whole, the less than 17K is like one of the hardest ones. Like you said, like it's like one of the only like super iconic ones there. So it's a great first pick.
I think that's a very solid first pick. All right, Landon, over to you with the second overall pick.
So I'm going to keep it in the same category here with the under 17,000. And I'm also going to go in the route of college basketball as well. Probably the second stadium, at least us KU fans think in our mind as being kind of the most iconic. I'm going to go with Cameron Indoor Stadium here. I mean, it's almost the level of a pretty high level high school gym with just under 10,000 for total capacity, but home to some of the most legendary games you'll ever watch in college basketball history.
Yeah, I really did. I think this was probably the second on the board just because like this is a small category. You got to get to it early.
Yeah.
And Cameron Indoor, obviously a super iconic arena. Not quite as good as Allen Fieldhouse, obviously, but still a great arena, nevertheless, that I think does a lot right. Yeah, okay, so now I am on to my pick. Okay, now I have a bunch of different options here. But I think the two best ones in 17,000 or less are off the board. And so I think I just need to go with my gut. And I'm going to go in pre-1975. I will be taking what I consider the best ballpark in all of Major League Baseball, the most historic, all of those things. I will be taking Fenway Park in pre-1975, which I
That's a
think
solid pick
is,
there. I had that on
yeah,
my list.
yeah, I think it's a historic stadium. It doesn't fall into a ton of other categories, but obviously a ton of legendary moments. The most defining feature of any stadium via the Green Monster. I think it's just a true classic. And so that will be my pick. Over to you, Eric, with your first of two picks.
Ben, you went with your homer pick, so I think I got to go with one of mine. For the 80+ thousand, I'm going to go with the one and only Ohio Stadium. Might be a reach for the first pick overall that I go with, but I have to stay true to my fandom and go with Ohio Stadium. They're they're on the National Register of Historic Places, built in 1922. They've hosted hockey. The players and students used to live in the dorms at the stadium. I recently just went to Ohio Stadium this summer for the first time, and it's crazy. It was bigger than I could have ever imagined a stadium being, so that's going to be my first pick.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. There's a lot of picks in that 80,000 category, but you got to be true to you and you got to be true to the shoe. So
Got
no, I
it.
totally get that. Eric, what is your second pick going to be on this turn?
I think my second pick for 1975 or earlier, I'm going to go with Lambeau Field.
Ooh, I think that's a
Open
great
in
pick.
1957. They're the oldest continuously occupied NFL stadium. They had the iconic Ice Bowl, and just obviously we did our Kansan Sports Family Feud. It was voted the best NFL stadium for a reason.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick. I think currently the only NFL stadium with bleacher seating.
I didn't know that.
Which is a fun thing. Gets pretty cold up there in the winter. That's not for the faint of heart.
Mhm.
I'll be
But
up there
yeah,
January 4th.
Lambeau Field, a really great pick to close out the opening first sweep through a pick. So now it is coming back to me on the turn, and I have a couple of options, but I think I'm going to go out and get the stadium I most commonly associate with the Super Bowl, and I'll be picking the Superdome in that category.
Yeah, solid.
So
I was really hoping that made it back to me.
yeah, obviously a lot of iconic, famous stadiums that have hosted the Super Bowl, but I feel like the Super Bowl being in New Orleans, being at the Superdome, some real classics in that building. Obviously, the what it means to the city of New Orleans. There are definitely better stadiums that have hosted a Super Bowl, but there is no more Super Bowl stadium, I feel like, than the Superdome, especially since the Orange Bowl is gone now. Also host of obviously the Sugar Bowl and numerous other college football games. I believe hosted the 2019 national championship game, but that will be my final. That will be my pick. Okay, Landon, back to you.
I'm also, I think, going to go with the Super Bowl host here. My original pick, I was kind of going to go with my heart and go NRG Stadium, but instead I'm going to switch it up here personally. And I'm going to go State Farm Stadium, as this has been the last two Super Bowls that I can remember being hosted here was the infamous Malcolm Butler play at the goal line to win it for the Patriots over the Seahawks, and then the absolute instant classic we had offensively between the Eagles and the Chiefs, where the Chiefs came out on top. So I think State Farm Stadium is a good stadium to take here for the Super Bowl.
Well, that's a really good pick. That I think that was off my radar, but yeah, I think really smart retractable roof stadium, out in the desert. I really solid pick there. Yeah. Okay, Brandon, back to you. You have two picks here. What's your first of those two picks going to be?
All right. Well, two of my three Super Bowl host stadiums that I had written down just got taken. So I'm going to split the difference and go with my second Super Bowl stadium that I had on my list. I'm going to go Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. It's hosted the second most Super Bowls. Just one of those all-time great venues. I know this is a Super Bowl host section, but it's kind of become known for hosting a bunch of other sports as well. So I'm going to take Hard Rock for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I really like that pick. I think it's a very distinctive looking stadium with the four sort of pillars on the outside. Also the only stadium that I know on this list that has hosted an F1 race, because there's an F1 race that goes right around the stadium. So that's pretty cool. All right. Wow. We have three or four of us have done Super Bowl stadiums already.
Okay, and then I think I'm going to go back to my first original pick, and for the capacity of over 80,000, I'm going to take the Rose Bowl, which I already kind of mentioned a bunch about that. In college football, it doesn't get much better than the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, and you initially wanted that as your first pick, and you waited, and it still came right back to you. So, bit of smart drafting there. But yeah, totally got it. Makes a lot of sense from what we were talking about earlier with the picks and all that kind of stuff. So that makes a lot of sense. Landon, what is your pick going to be?
I'm gonna go with my pre-1975 pick here, and we're gonna go the indoor route here. I'm gonna go with one of the most historic kind of venues you could ever have. Well, actually, no. Let me think on this. Actually, no. Sorry. Actually, I got this wrong. I'm not gonna go pre-1975. I'm gonna rival Eric here, and with the 80,000 plus, and I'm gonna take the big house itself here. I have to do it. I had to stop myself there through. I was like, oh wait, I need to make Eric a little mad here. I mean, it's one of the biggest stadium, one of the biggest stadiums in the world, and home to the Michigan Wolverines, who have played some great games in there, including some great games against Eric's Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah, the one this past year was pretty good in the big house.
Yeah, you did get that one. I'm not a Michigan fan, don't worry. So
landed with the straight attempt just to try to make Eric tilt out immediately.
Hey, you know what? In my opinion, it just makes his list worse, so that's fine by me.
Nothing's off the table in the stadium draft, I think there's a lot of good things. Okay, so I gotta think about this. I think I'm going to go into post 2010 because as an open category that I'm not the most confident about. In post 2010, I think I'm gonna pick what I think is the most architecturally impressive stadium anyone's made, and that's gonna be SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles.
It's a good
built in, I believe 2019, just before the pandemic, or maybe just after the pandemic, 2021.
Opened in 2020.
Yeah, a spectacular sort of open air design where they have trees inside the stadium, hosted a great Super Bowl and a great Super Bowl halftime show, hosted games at the World Cup this summer. And I just think, if you are going to design a stadium of the future, SoFi Stadium is sort of the goal for what you're looking for. So yeah, that's going to be my pick, and that'll break us into the post 2010 category. Over to you, Eric Lucio.
Yeah, I'm gonna get our first non-Big Four sport here, and I'm gonna take Wembley, for the non-Big Four sport. Main reason being it gets the privilege to host the Kansas Jayhawks this fall, but it's obviously an iconic stadium, seats like almost 100,000 people. Yeah, just absolutely iconic. You got to get the big names on here. I'm starting off strong with Ohio Stadium and Lambeau Field. I got to get another icon on the board here with Wembley.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Wembley Stadium, obviously, this is the second iteration of Wembley Stadium. The first iteration was demolished, but this one has the giant arch to hold up the roof. Has hosted multiple European finals. Will host the Euro 2028 final as well as the Euro 2020 final. Hosted NFL games, and will be hosting next year arguably the most hallowed event to ever grace the surface, Kansas versus Arizona State. So really, really a true classic of a stadium, and a great pick over there by Eric. Eric, what will your second pick on your 2-pick turn be here?
Now I really got to think. I think I kind of want to go a little non-traditional here for the Super Bowl host. I'm not going to take one that is a very iconic or synonymous with the Super Bowl stadium, but I'm going to go with Stanford's Stadium. They hosted one Super Bowl, but they've also hosted the 94 some matches in the 94 World Cup as well as the 1999 Women's World Cup final. Obviously hosts the Stanford University football team. And it's a super old stadium, opened in like 1921. So
this is an off radar pick right here. This is sort of a Hansen Yang situation, if anyone remembers that from the NBA draft a few years ago. Yeah, I did not see this coming, but Stanford State, a great stadium, a real awesome history of the sport. I believe hosted some early professional soccer in the U.S. as well. So yeah, a really cool pick there for Eric, and that will close out our first category. I still have to pick my big stadium and my small stadium. And I think I'm going to go with my smaller stadium here. And I will be taking Center Court at Wimbledon, host of the Wimbledon final. It is a capacity of about 14,500 seats. It is an outdoor grass court with a retractable roof. It is the only stadium I know of that has a designated box for royalty, that is like specifically for the royal family. They sell a lot of strawberries and cream there apparently, and obviously a lot of classic Wimbledon finals in that venue. So I'll be taking that to get my small stadium off the board. And that'll move us back over to Mr. Landon Jones, who you've got a couple of things left on the board, and we still all have our wild cards, which I think can be a lot of fun. So what will you be picking, Mr. Jones?
I'm going to go with the post 2010 route. I'm going to go with Estadio Monterrey. It is a beautiful stadium that we saw in the World Cup. It is, if you haven't seen a picture of it, please go look it up. It is a soccer stadium with a beautiful mountain right next to it down in Mexico. Beautiful, as beautiful as a stadium as you can get. So opened in 2015, hosted now some World Cup matches. I think it is one of the best picks you can get in this category.
This was really also on my board. This is a great pick.
That's really good.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, we'll see if we can get it up in the final video. But there's a great shot of, I think it's the south end of the stadium where you're looking up at the field, and then right behind the field, there's this gigantic green mountain. I believe the official name for it, not in the World Cup, is Estadio BBVA. So that's what I'll be listing you guys. But yeah, great pick, and I would say one of the best modern soccer stadiums that you could take right here. All right, back to you, Brandon, with 2 picks, and you are almost out of picks now. So
I know. I'm coming down to the wire here, and I'm gonna kind of go a similar route to Landon. I'm gonna go a different category though. I'm gonna go a non-Big Four. It is another World Cup venue, maybe one of the most iconic soccer venues. I'm gonna go Estadio Azteca with a capacity of over 87,000. It's the largest stadium in Latin America. It's the first venue to host 3 different men's FIFA World Cup tournaments, and as well, after all that, it's 1.5 miles above sea level. So it's just that total environment that kind of just tears people apart, and one of the greatest soccer venues that you could have.
Bro, that was gonna be my wild card. I was really hoping that would
first on the board for me with non-Big Four stadiums, but I dilly-dallied too long. Yeah, I mean, what else could you say about the Azteca? It's hosted the only stadium to host 2 World Cup finals, a legendary home field atmosphere and environment, literally atmosphere, but also, figurative atmosphere, famous for beer showers and other things. The Mexican fan base has hosted some really famous boxing matches as well, actually. Hosted the largest ever crowd for a boxing match in the 1990s. So, yeah, the Azteca, what a legendary stadium and a great pick. Brandon, what is your penultimate pick here?
All right, so I have a couple different directions I could go here. I have my pre-1975, my post-2010. Yeah, my pre-1975, my post-2010, and my wild card. I think I'm going to save my 2010 and wild card for that last little turnaround. And I'm going to go pre-1975, and I'm going to take Maracana Stadium. It opened on June 16th in 1950 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It was built specifically for the 1950 FIFA World Cup. Has about 200,000, once held 200,000 spectators. And on top of all that, it is the location where Pele scored his 1,000th goal in 1969.
This is an incredible pick. This is a really, really good turn. The Maracana in Rio, one of the most famous stadiums you could get. Host of 2 of the biggest clubs in Brazil at the same time, who are like big rivals. Has never hosted an NFL game, which is pretty surprising, but has hosted a lot
in due time.
I think it's coming very soon. But yeah, this was another one on my board and another awesome pick. All right, the Estadio Maracana.
Yeah, I like Brandon's list more than I like mine. I'm not gonna lie.
Brandon's shown up for this. He's taking advantage of these.
I had to. Eric knows the past 2 appearances have been a little rough, so
yeah,
we had to show up.
You're going all out. This is good.
Okay, Landon Jones, what do you have?
I'm gonna go with non-Big Four here, and I'm gonna go with a stadium that it's big in the heart of Kansas City fans. It has set huge records here. Go with the first stadium ever built for the primary purpose of a women's sport. I'm going to go with CPKC Stadium, just in the north side of Kansas City, Missouri, where the KC Current resides.
This is a great pick. A really, really nice small stadium. Also, well known, hosted the 2024 Big 12 soccer tournament final, won by your Kansas Jayhawks.
Exactly.
So yeah, a really great small stadium. I think they're even planning expansion for it already, because it has a great atmosphere, a great amount of crowds. So that is a really solid pick. CPKC Stadium. I have to think about what other people are going to take in wild card, but all of my other categories people can't necessarily take. I think I'm going to break into 80,000 or more seat stadium, and I will be taking the best form of Death Valley, the stadium that feels quote unquote like you're playing inside of a drum. I'll be taking Tiger Stadium at Louisiana State University.
I had that one too.
Yeah, I think it's
a great pick.
It's an iconic, loud stadium. They love a night game. There are a bunch of stadiums that call themselves Death Valley, but this is obviously the real one. There were a couple of others on the board here that we can talk about later when we talk about what our closest cuts were, or what we were thinking about was still on our boards, but I'll be taking the real Death Valley, home of LSU. Okay, Eric, it is back to you on the turn, and you have 2 picks here.
Yeah, well, I'm actually gonna, I think, opt into the wild card and leave
Okay.
one of the other ones for the wild card, just because I'm worried someone else may get it. If I don't take it now, I'm gonna go with the mecca of basketball in general. Give me Madison Square Garden for my wild card.
That's a really good pick. It's a really good pick. I was kind of wondering if someone was going to take it in pre-1975. So I'm impressed that it stuck around, but I mean, the mecca of everything, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much explanation needed here. It's kind of just one of the most famous arenas in the world. Yeah, I feel like a lot of my picks, like obviously they're well known, but Madison Square Garden's like,
that's a pretty premium pick to get in the wild card spot. All right, Eric, what is your second pick going to be here?
I'm not gonna lie, both of the ones I have left were the ones that I liked the least heading into this. But I think for my post 2010, I'm gonna go with Lusail Stadium in Qatar.
Ooh,
I believe it built in 2022. So obviously it had the World Cup final there in Qatar in 22. It has almost 90,000 seats. And I love the architecture there. It was inspired by Arab lanterns and bowls traditionally. So it just looks really cool. Obviously, like a World Cup final site, it's always going to be good. So yeah, that's going to be my pick.
That is a really, really great pick. Host of the World Cup final, host of also one of the great World Cup quarterfinals ever, Argentina versus Netherlands, a game that had like 12 yellow cards and on a 100th minute goal to tie it. Like just an all-time, a classic stadium that it's kind of a shame is not going to host like a lot more big stuff because obviously the Qatari League is not great. But what a World Cup it was, and what a World Cup final it hosted. All right, back to me. I could either break into wild card or non-Big Four. Those are my only 2 picks I have left. And in non-Big Four, I think I'm going to go with a stadium that is soon to be one of the largest in the entire world. And that's going to be the Camp Nou Stadium in Barcelona, Spain, home of FC Barcelona. Will be a stadium at the 2030 World Cup, and currently has a capacity of 98,000, but will soon have a capacity of like 106,000 people, making it the largest soccer stadium in the world. I've been to the stadium. It is unspeakably big in the way that it sort of slopes up and really feels like a bowl. So yeah, that'll be my pick, is the Camp Nou, which I think is now called the Spotify
Camp
the
Nou.
Spotify Camp Nou.
Yeah,
actually.
I had that on my list too. I was like, that was low-key one of the reasons why I didn't go there. It was just the Spotify name in it.
Yeah,
but it's still a great pick. It's a great
tough
pick.
break. I mean, technically, like the Azteca is now Estadio Banorte instead of Estadio Azteca, but we're gonna call things what we can call them. Okay, back to you, Landon, with your second to last pick.
I'm gonna go with the pre-1975 here. I'm gonna go with the stadium. We usually only get to see used roughly about once a year or so, but it's an iconic spot for college football. I'm gonna go with the Cotton Bowl Stadium in Dallas, Texas.
Ooh,
this
is a great pick.
Really
actually,
solid.
Yeah.
I like it. Been there many times. In
Yeah.
the heart of the Texas State Fair.
Right in the middle of the state fair. Obviously, host to the Red River Shootout, the Red River Rivalry, whatever you'd like to call it. A really classic old school stadium that I just think does a lot of things right. And what a cool image, obviously, to have the half crimson, half orange stadium.
That's a great pick. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that was off my board entirely, but what a smart pick. Okay, moving on to Brandon with his final 2 picks and what's been a really strong draft.
Yeah, dude, I'm really struggling where to go here. I think this World Cup is really rubbing off on me, and so I think I'm going to stick with this soccer theme that I have going these past couple picks. And my first and my last 2 picks, I'm going to go post 2010 to a stadium out in London that opened in 2019. It features the world's first dividable, retractable pitch. I'm going to go Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And another little fun fact that I just thought was insane is 4 of the largest stadium screens in Western Europe. Each one is 325 square meters or nearly 3,500 square feet.
Those are some big screens, man.
Yeah,
Holy
just
cow.
absolutely massive. I mean, I would just love to just watch a game on that screen alone. But one of obviously the more iconic football clubs. So I'm gonna go Tottenham Hotspur for my post 2010, and for my wild card, which is all I have left. This might be my hardest decision of the day.
It's a wide open category.
I know. There's one stadium on here where like I'm familiar with and I love, and then another one where just doing research for this kind of opened my mind to so many of these like that I wasn't aware of. And I think I'm gonna go more that way. Ben, you went with Barcelona's home Camp Nou. I'm gonna go a legendary rival of theirs, and I'm gonna go the home stadium of Real Madrid, Estadio Santiago Bernabeu. It hosted a UEFA, or it's the only stadium, to host both a UEFA European Championship and a FIFA World Cup. It doesn't really get much better than Real Madrid and Barcelona in professional soccer.
Yeah, also hosted an NFL game. Now has a new renovated building, which has a retractable roof, which is kind of a cheat code for really loud European soccer stadiums, is to then close the roof. What a classic stadium. What I would note about Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as well, it is famous because they create more game day revenue at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium than the next top 10 combined stadiums in the Premier League, because of all of the in-stadium dining and bar options that fans can go to. So that'll bring it back to Landon, who has his final pick, which is a wild card. So Landon, it's fully open to you. What will you be taking?
So I'm going to end it out. This could have been also on the non-Big Four. Not when you think of a stadium, it's not usually not where your mind would go, but it is considered a stadium. I'm going to go with Churchill Downs.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a really good pick, actually.
I like it.
All-time historic track. I mean, it's home to the Kentucky Derby. I mean, either if you watch horse races or not, when this Kentucky Derby's happening, all the A-list celebrities are there in attendance to watch it. So it's such a staple in not just the racing world, but the sports world. So I think it is the perfect spot here for the wild card.
That's a really great pick. Home of horse racing, home of gambling, home of the mint julep. I mean, what else could you really want out of a stadium? For my final one, I'm just going to go real big. And I'm going to take the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which has a capacity of like 350,000 people, one of the largest stadiums in the world, home of the Indianapolis 500, amongst other things. And just like an iconic classic racetrack.
That's a great pick. We all went big in the last in the wild card.
We went with the classics. Okay, so now that'll come to you, Eric, with your final pick, which is going to have to be 17,000 seats or less. What do you have?
I'm gonna go out to Hinkle Fieldhouse for my last pick. Yeah, I think it's one of the more iconic state arenas in the U.S. Back in 1928, it was the largest arena in the U.S. at the time, which is funny. But it's hosted a lot of different things, like the NBA All-Star Game. It was one of the big March Madness venues in 21. And it's a National Historic Landmark. I already had it with the Ohio Stadium, so.
It also was where they shot the final scene in Hoosiers.
I did know that as well, yeah. It's just an
No.
all-around iconic arena. So
Yeah,
good
I
way
think
to
that's
close
a
out
great,
the.
great historic basketball arena. Okay, so that will take us through our stadium draft. To recap the picks, in 80,000, I took Tiger Stadium, center court at Wimbledon. I took Fenway Park, SoFi Stadium, the Superdome, Camp Nou, and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Eric, in your picks, you had Ohio Stadium, Hinkle Fieldhouse, Lambeau Field, Lusail Stadium in Qatar, Stanford Stadium, Wembley Stadium, and Madison Square Garden. Brandon had the Rose Bowl, Allen Fieldhouse, the Estadio de Maracana, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Hard Rock Stadium, Estadio Azteca, and the Santiago Bernabeu. Landon took Michigan Stadium, Cameron Indoor, the Cotton Bowl, Estadio BBVA in Monterey, the State Farm Stadium, CPKC Stadium, and Churchill Downs. How do you guys feel about the lineup you took?
I like it.
I feel like I definitely went soccer heavy towards the end. But
there's a lot of great soccer stadiums, in all fairness.
That's the thing. Like, so many of them are so historic. Definitely lucked out. I almost messed up early when I didn't realize that we could pick our stadium, but was glad to get the mecca of college basketball, Allen Fieldhouse, on there. I'm sure, like Ben had mentioned, that was everybody's probably 101. But yeah, it was obviously a great time.
Do you guys have any close cuts that were almost picked on your boards?
I had a lot of mine that ended up being said later, but honestly,
the ones I really thought about, I thought about Lumen Field in Seattle.
Yeah,
it's a great stadium. I thought about Petco Park, but I couldn't really think of a good category to put it in. But I think that's sort of one of the best baseball stadiums.
There wasn't a lot of baseball.
Yeah,
No.
this wasn't. I'll admit, this was kind of this definitely was not a draft that favored baseball. There wasn't like a great category to fit it in. I also thought about taking the Melbourne Cricket Ground in Melbourne, Australia, which is a 102,000 seat stadium. Absolutely massive. People go nuts for cricket down there, apparently. But yeah, that was really my close picks. A lot of people took picks I was kind of looking forward to. Do you guys think you won the draft?
I think
don't know.
real quick.
I don't
kind of
know.
going back on what Ben was saying right there. I think the one baseball stadium that maybe could have slid its way in here was Wrigley Field. In that pre-1975 area, but obviously there were so many.
Yeah,
and I think one of the biggest.
Like that.
I know, right? And then I think one of the biggest stadiums that I struggled with not picking was Beaver Stadium out in Penn State.
Yeah.
I mean, just notoriously one of the hardest places to play in college football. Has one of the coolest traditions with the whiteout. I don't know if that was on anybody else's list, but
that was on my board. The 80,000 plus was a really tough category to come
There's
up with.
There's just so many that you could throw in there.
Yeah, I had Tiger Stadium, I had Kyle Field at Texas A&M, and I had Beaver Stadium.
Yeah,
were kind of my top three. So yeah, do you guys think you won the draft? I think I did pretty well.
I feel like there's no wrong answers.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see what the people decide. When this video is up, there will be a graphic showing all of our choices and a little poll. So please vote to say who won the stadium draft. If you ever have a suggestion for something we should try drafting, I think this is a pretty fun format. I think we could do more of this. So let us know. Subscribe to Kansan Sports on all platforms. I've been Ben Hooke. These guys have been awesome, and we will see you guys later.